This is a 2020 Lexus GX460. It is the next to the top in terms of SUVs in Lexus's lineup. The top would be the LX, right, cameraman?
Yep.
Yep, okay. So this is the one step down from the top, and we're giving it a good once around for review. Coming up right now. You're looking at the 2020 Lexus GX460. This is a very large SUV. It is similar in footprint to the Toyota Land Cruiser, which is its sister vehicle, but they are not identical. There are some differences. For this review, we're going to get into the specifics of this GX460. It is a 3-row seating SUV, and it's a pretty big one. Now, before I start talking to you about the vehicle from the vehicle, let me just tell you how nice this color is on this particular model. This is what Lexus calls Nebula Grey Pearl. It is amazing. There isn't quite a camera angle or a lens that I could find that makes it look as good as it does in person, but I will say that the blacked out wheels really help this color pop, and I encourage you to check out this Nebula Grey Pearl if you're looking at this vehicle. Okay, so safety stuff. So it's got the lane keep assist, it's got some collision avoidance features on the sides, and it's got the cruise controls with the safe distance thingamajigger. I'm not sure exactly what they call that, but my wife will tell you that the collision avoidance on these Lexus don't always stop you from hitting the neighbor's mailbox while you're texting. So there's that. Pretty solid in terms of the safety stuff on the Lexus vehicles, but it's also pretty standard. And what I mean by that is it hasn't really changed in this model year as compared to the previous 3 or 4 years. You're still getting the same stuff they've been doing. So we've got a 2-memory driver seat. Means it has 2 separate memory. They do not work without the engine on. Speaking of which, this has your standard Lexus push button, which does come standard in all the Lexus line. Once we get that going here, we can adjust. Who's been driving this thing, man? Woo! On the steering controls, you have, this is your interface to the alert console, meaning you go through your menus and your odometer settings and so on and so forth, your alerts, and just various settings like your lane keep assist, your parking assist, your steering angle, various safety information. You get into the vehicle settings here. So that's what you use the little nav buttons on the right side of the steering wheel for. Everybody got it? You've also got lane keep assist setting down here, your parking sensor alerts. Over here, you've got your phone controls, your volume controls, your channel adjustment, your track adjustment, your voice recognition if you have your cell phone paired by a Bluetooth, and then just mode settings. The way that Lexus and Toyota do it is they put the cruise control on the stick right here, so all of your cruise settings are done there. Your wiper settings are up here on that stick, and your light settings are right there on the left stick, and that sets auto lights, running lamps, fog lamps, and so on. The left stick, I should also mention, is the standard turn signal stick, so it'll give you turn signal controls left and right. There we go. The standard display is you have your tach, your RPM on the left, your engine temperature, okay, your fuel gauge, and then your speedometer all the way over on the right. And again, as I mentioned earlier, all your information provided in terms of safety settings and vehicle settings, and sometimes call and radio settings, are right here in this middle display. All right, climate controls, manual or tactile buttons here. So we've got them for both the passenger and the driver. That's great. And then you've got your individual readouts for each. Also great. And then your various director airflow settings here. And then I'm going to add this because it's a little bit tricky to figure out. But these are actually vented seats that have airflow through them. Right now they are on the cool side. But if you watch me dial that and you turn it over to the red side, you make your seats hot for the camera guy, and you wait to see how long it takes for him to scream. Let's take a look at the infotainment system. Now, this is something I'm going to knock Lexus on a little bit because this is a 2020 model, and I feel like they still haven't caught up to the game. I think this is becoming a bigger deal to people than it used to be, but they still do not have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto integration in this particular model, in this particular package, which I sort of feel like on a luxury car ought to be standard across the entire luxury line again by 2020. So that puts us into a position where we've got to use their nav system, and it's got to be updated regularly, whereas something like Google Maps gets updated all the time and for free, I might add. Here are your power and connectivity options in the console. So first, we will do the front area. You've got 2 USB ports and a direct audio interface port, which is going to give you a little better sound quality than Bluetooth if your phone has one of these old school ports. Next to that, you've got your standard 12-volt power plug, which I've got a charger in right now, but that's your old school cigarette lighter plug, as we used to call it, right? And you've got a little bit of storage space in here for your phone. That's important to note because, well, we'll get to that in a minute. So as we slide back, you've got your cup holders here. Gee, what nice cup holders. And then as we go all the way to the back, underneath the armrest, there is a storage area, and it does fit a phone quite well. But there are no power ports in here at all, which means that you've got to keep your phone plugged in up front and either run the cord all the way back or put the phone in this area right here, which is probably what most people will end up doing. Kind of disappointing that they couldn't figure out a way to put some power ports back here, but you know, I'm wearing my cameraman out with all the back and forth, so we'll give him a break. So guys, just wanted to mention that the front USB ports that are built into this console are very low power, and you can see a shot here of my phone. I just wanted to point out that if you've got a modern cell phone, you're not going to get a quick charge. You're not even going to get a normal charge out of those. You're going to get a very slow charge, which is why you saw me have the cigarette adapter plug in there. Now, the second row has better power options, and they've got a little bit more in terms of amperage coming to them, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. Okay, this is our second row of seats, and this is the control interface that you have for that second row. So you can see here we've got climate controls for the back area. The vents are overhead. We'll show you those in a minute. And then you've actually also got fan control, temperature control, automatic temperature control, and then seat control, which is on each side. So there's a left side and a right side, and that turns your heated seats on and off, which is a nice feature to have in the second row. If we move on down to the power options, down here you can see that we've got two 2.1 amp USB ports. You can barely see those, but the 2.1 amp thing is important because that's enough to charge a full-size tablet or an iPad. It does require a little extra juice for those, and you can in fact charge them with these ports. This is the overhead vents in both the second and the third row, which is kind of a nice thing you don't get in a lot of large SUVs. Sometimes you only have floor heat and air, so they're giving you some overhead air also, and you can close those off just like that. So cabin noise is pretty good. Now we'll do another take on this and give you the sound at highway speeds, but it is almost as quiet at highway speeds as it is driving 25 miles an hour through a neighborhood. It's really impressive how quiet this really big boxy vehicle is. It's kind of like a brick in the wind. So they did a very good job with that. We're road testing now. More than anything, we are doing this for highway noise. We want to see how loud or quiet this thing does on the highway. So I am up to about 70 miles an hour right here. This is normal conversation volume for me. We got two different audio sources recording this. We'll play them back for you. And it's pretty quiet. I, again, am just very surprised at how quiet this thing is. It's so quiet that I can hear my wife's cell phone ringing all the way in the third row right now. It's pretty quiet. For a big boxy vehicle like this, they did a really good job with reducing the exterior noise on the highway. All right, so we have an engine. Just kidding. This is Lexus' standard offering here, and this is their 4.6 liter. Just kind of trying to show you the layout of the engine at this point. You've got your air intake over here. That engine cover is going to keep us from seeing a lot of what's actually under it, and unfortunately I don't have permission to take that off. But you get a little peek over here. Some other stuff. They've got a lot of shielding here. You can't actually see down at the radiator, which also makes it harder to clean. But that's what it looks like under the hood, everybody.
Hey, while my dad's not here, let me show you how the sunroof works. So, if you want it all the way back, you can just hold, and then it's automatic, so it slides open. And if you want it open even more, you gotta push it just a little. Then to close it, the same thing. You hold it for a couple of seconds, and then it starts closing. You can also just lift it up a little, and you have to hold that down, but see, it lifts it up on the back, and that's it.
So you'll notice that the frame rate here is going to pick up the strobing of the LEDs, but the headlights are what I wanted to direct you to. 1, 2, 3 of them, which is nice. Those are going to be aimed at different areas of the pavement in front of you. We are going to demonstrate for you the third row seat magic.
First, you have to pull it all the way forward. Then you pull this up. Then you pull this one up. This. And then there's a seat, the bottom of the seat, that you have to pull up and out, and then click it down, and then you have a third row seat. And then to undo that, the headrest is this. So pull on this. That's down. Put this back. There's a lever just like this one over on the floor, which retracts that. And then pull this again. And it's down.
And can we do this on both rows?
Yes. This is what it looks like from the inside.
Meaning, like, if you want to get in this third row, you have to grab that latch in the front.
Pull all the way forward. This latch. Pull up. Forward. And back in. And then you can just pull it.
How much room you got back there?
Pretty good for a third row.
This is our view from the third row. This is one of my favorite features. And it's pretty simple, but it's stuff that's well thought out. And that is the little kid viewer that we can use to keep an eye on those little people jumping up and down in the back seat. So to show you where this actually resides, it's a drop down with a button that sits right above the rear view mirror, right there. So it's in your direct line of sight as you look in your rear view mirror. And if you do have kids or old people that you need to keep an eye on in the back seat, you can do it right there. Or you can watch your wife texting. So if you've made it this far, just a couple more things to cover here. First, let's get into fuel. So you'll notice by the gas cap, which I will show you right here, that this is ethanol E15 rated or less, meaning if some of the pending fuel standard changes come out soon that have E20 available or higher, this engine is not rated to accept them. And that's kind of common across the board with Toyota, although Toyota is a little bit behind in terms of their ethanol adaptation in the United States. The other thing that I'll mention here is that this is a premium only vehicle and you are going to spend a fortune keeping gas in this sucker. If you're okay with that, then it's fine, but just know that you're gonna have the most expensive gas at the pump when you fill this thing up. We didn't get into a lot of performance and handling on this video because, well, it's an SUV and they're a little boxy and top heavy, but because it is a luxury version, I will say that I was pleasantly surprised. It does handle better than I expected. Now, as far as engine performance and acceleration, kind of as is typical with Toyota, it's just a little underpowered. It's not awful, but Toyota just seems, or Lexus in this case, they just seem to never give you the full top end that engine is capable of. And they have a long history of doing that. The reason usually revolves around engine longevity, so they want to get more life out of that engine. They want to help it last longer, and so they dial it down a little bit. You're going to get about 300 horsepower out of this V8 engine, which is about 80 horsepower less than that Land Cruiser we compared it to in the beginning of the video. Still, if you're driving a vehicle like this, your primary goal is probably not 0 to 60 time. The model I tested was a 4-wheel drive. That feature was automatic, and it handled just fine. I didn't get to take it off-road, but it was smooth, and it handled more like a car than I would expect from an SUV. So that's it, everybody. Thanks for watching. If this video was at all helpful to you, please give us a thumbs up. You're welcome to leave us a comment. Ring the bell and you'll get notifications when we do these again. And above all else, please consider hitting subscribe. That really helps us make more of these videos in the future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.